you lose 3 players before the game that played yesterday. So to say it was a good win would probably be an understatement. It was, just an unbelievable effort when you consider we probably had enough reasons just to maybe not, if we wanted to make the choice to not keep going, and the players, once thought that the players' ability to be able to dig in and push against the tide when things weren't going well and recover and then go again was outstanding.
I find most of the time those media conferences are boring. They don't say much. They say what's predictable anyway. But that media conference there last night with John Longmuir was like, it was must-watch television in a way. He spoke with so much emotion. He loves that playing group, BJ. And he's my Monday marvel, John Longmire, how he's been able to lead that football club. And they packed up and they left Sydney over a month ago. They haven't been able to see their families now for over a month. They're trying to work out with the Queensland government how they do just that. I think it's nearly impossible at the moment that they can actually go and see their families. They'll need a lot of luck and some help there from the Queensland government to give them the green light. So there's a lot going on in their personal lives, but they've been able to get the job done on the footy field. And Sydney and John Longmire are my Monday marvel.
Yeah, you make a good point just around their ability to deal with adversity in Sydney. Yeah, I think are in the boat with a few other teams of being at the top end.
Yeah.
As I said, I chatted to Jarrett McVeigh. They're planning to stay in Melbourne for the rest of the year, and then therefore they're planning to get their family over. I think it was the following week or next week, early next week, and how that looks in terms of what quarantine looks like and all that kind of thing. So again, another curveball thrown at them, and that I just think it reflects their leadership and a club as a whole from the senior players. Remember, they've still got a youngish core or a bunch of young guys that are playing senior footy, and then there's this kind of middle-aged core group that are still up and coming. Essentially, then you've got those older crew that are well experienced. So it just speaks volumes of their leadership and their culture at the footy club of what they're doing and how they're doing it. So I think they're all surprising. So there's no surprise with them being a Monday marvel, but that my Monday marvel, I just have to give to, I think I was a couple of weeks ago, is Sam Walsh again. Just with the absence of Paddy Cripps and his ability, gee whiz, what a start. We talked about him, and I don't need to speak on him, but what he did, almost that sealer yesterday and the way he did it, and he's just a star. I think he's going to have an aura about him like Lenny Hayes. Just everyone's going to love Sam Walsh.
Yeah.
Not that they already don't, but when he gets to that point in time where the team's doing well, he'll he's already a star, but he'll be a mega star, and everyone's going to love him.
And he did it all yesterday, like inside and outside. He's added that inside grunt to his game, and when you compare him to Patrick Cripps, Patrick was so dominated in the early part he dominated the early part of his career. Like, he was a big bull with the way that the game was played, but he doesn't have the ability outside Macca of what Sam Walsh can provide. And as Macca's pointed out a few times, I should say BJ's pointed out a few times on this segment throughout the year, he's nearly impossible to tag because of his tank.
Yeah, he sure is. That's a great one, I reckon, BJ. He's $10 to win the Brownlow, which you might say Carlton have not won enough games, but in 5 of their 7 wins, he's had 30-plus disposals. And I reckon his 55 or 56 games that he's played so far are as good as anyone that I can remember in recent times other than Chris Judd. Like, he's been outstanding in a team that's just been pretty average. My Monday marvel, guys, is Jack Riewoldt. I know it goes back a while, but a guy, a footy club under the pump, Richmond Footy Club, Jack Riewoldt plays his 300th game. He kicks 6 goals. The smartest bet of the weekend was to try and get him over 4 goals in a game, because you just know that he rises to the occasion. I didn't do it, guys. Absolutely, I didn't take it. Mm-hmm. But he's just a marvel. We've written him off several times, but I just think he deserves a massive tick for what he means to the Richmond Football Club, both now and going forward for next year as well.
0416 90 50 52. The text messages are coming through, so we'll try and get through our segments as quick as possible and then get to your text messages, because there's some really good points this morning, including one that I need to pick up straight away. Richmond actually played Geelong back in 2017 at Continua Park. So there you go. That's from Pete. We appreciate that. Our buy, sell and hold. We'll start off with you here, Macca, then BJ, and then I'll come back with mine.
Yeah, I'll give you my buy. It's Ollie Wines. I've already backed Bont to win the Brownlow. I got him a while ago, but Ollie Wines has been outstanding. So he's $4.
You should have taken my early season tip, mate. $81.
I know. I shouldn't. I brought this up specifically for you, BJ, because I didn't take him at those odds. But I'm happy to now take him at $4.50. He's had 30.
$4.50. Come on, mate.
Yeah, mate.
That's unders, surely, Macca.
No, you look at his last, he's had 35, 29, 43, 29, 43, 33 and 36 in the last 8 or so weeks. I think he's the biggest danger to Bont to win the Brownlow. So he's my buy. The hold, I'm going to hold Melbourne. I don't know what to do with Melbourne. They were so disappointing against the Hawks. I'm just going to hold them and give them one last chance. They're certainly right up there on top of the ladder, so you can't knock them. And my sell, I don't think GWS can make it now with Toby Green not to play this week and probably prepared to. They were in the game for a while yesterday, but I'm prepared to sell them at the moment.
All right, then, BJ.
My buy is, this is a tough one, actually, looking at the ladder and who's to play who. And I think Port will make the top 4, but they're the ones to fall out. They've got a reasonably softish run, but just because of the inconsistency. So I'm going to buy Sydney, even though I have before, but Sydney to make top 4.
Okay.
Maybe Port Adelaide just get a little bit of a wobble. Sydney's got Freo, Essendon, St Kilda, North and Gold Coast to finish. So I know we've just talked about them having some curveballs and adversity thrown at them, but they're my buy. My sell is West Coast. I think they'll just scraping at 8, but I think they're just making up the numbers. Yesterday, second half was a lot better, obviously. I caught a little bit of it, but they're just still not. I think they're done and shot. And my hold is Richmond. So they made it hard for them. I talked about them having, finding form towards the end of the year and almost having like a Bulldogs kind of run at it if they were going to win 3 in a row. But now with the loss of Dusty, it's made it even harder. But, they've lost arguably their best player before and gone on to win the premiership the following year, Alex Rance. So I'm just going to hold them for now.
Come on, BJ. This is from Rob from Launching Place. He says, the Richmond Football Club are an amazing football club, and I think watching them over their wonderful years in the last 3 or 4 years, to me on Thursday night was nearly their greatest victory with the circumstances that they had to overcome there against Brisbane, who hate the Gold Coast, by the way, but still it was a mighty victory from the Lions. But Rob from Launching Play says, consider this. Broad, Edwards, Prestia, Bolts have lost in Coleman Jones, Soldo, Hooley, and then McIntosh for 3 quarters with a hamstring, and then Dusty basically at half-time, and they defeat Brisbane in Queensland and get the job done. It was one of their greatest victories, I think.
Maybe. Yeah, to keep them in the hunt. That's what I mean. I'm more holding him to make the 8, obviously, but to win the premiership, I'm not.
Well, they can't win without Dusty.
Not making statements like Dylan Buckley did a month ago, one of our RSN's own, but so they're going to win the whole thing. But it'll be an almighty effort if they were to go deep and make a prelim or something. But remember, so all those names that he just mentioned, that a number of those guys will come back too. So they got Geelong next week, which is set up to be a great game, but then it's Freo, North, GWS and Hawthorn to round out the year, the last 4. I'm buying 3 sides I can buy 3 sides because I think these sides are the only sides that can win the flag at the moment. Melbourne, even though they got defeated by Hawthorn, but when they've played the better sides, they've performed on the big stage. I think Geelong and I think the Doggies. Sydney, I give a small chance, but I think it's out of those 3. I'm selling Port Adelaide because I think that even though that was one of their better wins of the season against St Kilda, their value might have went up a little bit, so I can make some money on them. I think the Giants are gone. Fremantle are cooked. And, Brisbane, I'm holding on them because I think a few people might want to sell them, and they've been so disappointing the last couple of weeks. But I think they still have the ability to turn it around at some stage. Great.
All right, then, Macca. We might get to your footy furnace here.
Yeah, my footy furnace is all those people talking about getting rid of the draw and having a penalty shootout can just get in the sea for me. I want to keep the draw. I know BJ hates them, but No.
I agree. I keep the draw. A penalty shootout, like
what a joke. Seriously, we don't need it, BJ, do we? Seriously, I mean, the emotion that comes after a draw, I reckon, there's almost this flat ceiling. You need to experience different things. We don't need to win everything. Like, do we then in a Test cricket, do we just say, oh, we don't have a draw in Test cricket? Do we just keep going till the end there? So I'm saying keep the draw. That's my fairness. Hope you guys agree.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Finals.
Well, I don't sort of wait a second. I don't agree with the draw. So I just have a 5 minute. Let's see who can win after 5 minutes at both ends. Extra time. Why not? Why do
bit of luck involved in that 5 minutes.
Yeah, I know, as you well know, BJ, after playing in the draw in the grand final. But there's luck involved in most matches, isn't there? Look what happened yesterday. We all need a little bit of luck, don't we?
Thank God it didn't happen the extra time in 2010, BJ.
No, extra time, extra 30 seconds, and we would have had that premiership, mate.
Yep.
All right, then. I'll do my footy furnace before your BJ's boiling point. My footy furnace is people complaining now about the integrity of the AFL because of COVID situation. You tell me what they should do or what they could do better. It doesn't matter what competitions around the world. Everybody's been affected regarding this COVID situation. And, of course, that you need to bend the rules in a way and the integrity of the game is going to be compromised because it's a situation that it's just impossible to make sure that the integrity of the game can stay intact. So what happened yesterday, what happened, I don't know if you postponed that match 24 hours, what difference it would have actually made. Same players would have been out. Obviously, they would have had a little bit of time to sort out their list. But I think it's the world that we live in, and if you're punting on this sport, you need to take that into consideration, that anything can that anything can happen. And you've had situations like what happened in the NFL, when professional outfits in playoff football have to call on their assistant coaches to be a quarterback. So we've been pretty lucky, I think, BJ, in this country, especially with our sports.
Oh, I know, and my Monday Marvel was almost the AFL again in the job they're doing. And people criticise them about potentially getting some early information about lockdowns and that's how the world works. I don't know why people complain about this thing. That's how politics works. You know, some media outlets having a crack at them for getting early information and bashing them. Like, how do they get some of their information and news stories? Like, with respect, Macca. But
I understand.
But bashing the AFL, getting early information to try and salvage an AFL season, which arguably still, keeping a lot of people sane, and this is the way the world works. Get over it. I totally agree, Macca. The AFL and the job they've done thus far the last year and a bit is outstanding. So.
Yep.
What about it's a $1 billion industry, guys? They need to get a heads up every now and again, don't they?
Exactly.
And I think
most other industries do, and people and individuals, and crazy.
And if anyone wants to debate whether it's like sport is all about money these days, professional sport, and if it wasn't for all of the money that the Olympic Games and that organisation get regarding their TV rights and their media rights, and the games wouldn't be going on, let's be honest. Like, you're going to, talking about having a competition that has an asterisk, there's going to be some athletes that haven't been able to compete or train for the last 18 months in a way. There's going to be athletes there at the Olympic Games that will be fresh and going into a competition with, restricted preparation.
That have been on the ejecting program for the last year and a half, and without no testing and not being able to go anywhere, or testers being able to visit athletes and stuff, and they might if they're able to get through, there might be the most world records broken of any Olympics ever.
Or some athletes are going to get, like, you think that in the pool there's going to be some athletes over the 1,500 metres that might get lapped about 5 times. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Okay, your boiling point, BJ, before we get to the text messages.
It's a footy related. It's short and sharp. I brought it up just briefly, I think, a couple of weeks ago, but you got to scrap the bounce. It's embarrassing. The footy I watch on the weekend, and how many times it's a hard skill. I understand that. So, but just get rid of it. It doesn't make it fair. And some of the bounces that then favour a ruckman that they're not willing to call back. And the Essendon game on the weekend, again, with respect to the umpires, it was an embarrassment. It was, and even when they did do a poor one, it was, give us the ball back. They stopped the play, bit of momentum or whatever. It's a fizzer. So just we want the AFL. I know the AFL is big, because this is what they said to us at AFL level when they visited the players, is they're trying to make the game as fair for both teams as possible. So one of the things is to make it fair between two ruckmen and give them equal chance is throw the ball up every centre bounce. Just do it.
Common sense. And I need to ask you about your Bombers too, because who would have believed with what they've been through this year with their schedule, and they're still rebuilding, but they're in the top 8 at the moment at the business end of the season. But just on that, what you mentioned about the bounce, BJ, like we have all of these new rules, and we're trying to work out how you can get the game to go faster. But now I might be wrong here, but isn't common sense? Why don't they just use common sense in a way? The worst ever rule is that the umpires have to identify which player is going up in the ruck. And so we wait 30 seconds before we bounce the ball or throw it up, which allows sides to set up back in defence. So that's the rule that needs to go. And I agree with you. Just throw the football up. Like, who cares about tradition in a way with the bounce? It's 2021. We have moved on from all of that. So,
no one's going to notice. Only the small... the minority, which are the traditionalists, which I think at our era all appreciate some traditions, but no one's going to notice. Just throw it up, and again, it gives equal chance to both ruckmen. Therefore, the better ruckman is generally, I think, percentages are going to win more than they lose, which is what you should be doing. And nominating the ruckman right, that was brought in to help ruckmen have an influence on the game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Stop third man ups to implement their skills and their strengths. So why wouldn't they just do that with throwing the ball up?
100%. Now, BJ, just on the Bombers, you must be proud with the way that they've been able to not only play the football that they've had, but overcome adversity. Like they've probably been, apart from the Sydney sides, the club that's been most affected by the situation that we find ourselves in. Yeah,
somewhat. It's extremely proud of them, actually. It's I don't think we all expected them to do as well as they could, coming off, the tough year last year, openly talking about how they struggled in the hub, some mumblings around what was going on, the trend, the handover of the coaching and succession plan, all that kind of thing didn't go well, and then to regroup and what Truck and the rest of the coaching and the club and Xavier Campbell, Josh Marnie have done has been incredible. So, look, for mine, the footy they're playing is not convincing. They're winning, but it's not. If they were lucky enough to get into the finals, it's not going to hold up. We've talked about it, I think, before, and a number of games they've done in recent times that I'll provide expert commentary on. It's not the footy they were playing earlier in the year, which is more sustainable to being successful in finals. So they need to get it together, work on that defensive, play the game in the forward half. They're tackling, being the number one tackle team in the AFL. For the first 10 weeks now, I think they're just back in the pack. I actually don't know the actual numbers, but they need to get that side of their game back to be more competitive against the best teams, and if they were lucky enough to make finals.
All right then, boys, let's get through these SMSs. Boys very frustrated with all the dangerous tackles called by the umpires. Some called Thursday, Friday, weren't called Saturday, Sunday. Players are taught to tackle with vigour and to bring the other player to ground. How is it possible in a split second to tackle hard but totally prevent any negative outcome? Accidents happen. It's a tough game. That's from Peter. I totally agree with you there, Peter. Macca, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with Peter too. I just don't like things that you look at the Richmond-Brisbane game. There were 4 or 5 in there that and some of them weren't dangerous tackles. A couple might have been borderline, but no, I think it was crazy that it's umpired in that particular way. And I couldn't agree more with what he said.
Macca, BJ, your thoughts?
It's a tough one. I think players now should be conscious enough of it that they can't.
Yep.
And have to be smarter. I know I was conscious of it when the rule first got brought in. It did take a little bit of time and adjustment, but as opposed to slinging, being aggressive, throwing someone to the ground, you can. I always tried to teach the players or the teams I was a part of to drop your weight at the knees, so therefore you can drag them to the ground as opposed to throw them or sling them. So you can still be aggressive in the manner, but not in slinging and driving someone in the ground. I think players have to be conscious of that now. It's been long enough.
SOK from Forest Hills says, love the show, guys. I don't understand COVID. The players did the warm-up with other players that played. Doesn't that mean that they are possibly exposed to a case from Tier 1 exposure site, Macca? It doesn't quite make sense.
No, it doesn't. I think that's the frustrating thing from people that, that they have been together as a group for a period of time as well, and that's probably the situation. But unfortunately, the rules are the rules, and there's no other choice but to do what they actually did.
Yeah, this is from Tony. Geelong wouldn't have been allowed to play Richmond at their home ground because they can't fit enough people in. They have to play their big games at the MCG. But what about the signage at Geelong? Games against interstate sides or lower-ranked Vic sides don't get the good exposure from the Geelong signage. Just another AFL Big Brother decision. Geelong won't get finals there either. Do they want Geelong to play all its games in Melbourne? That's a pathetic decision. That's from Tony. I think it's a little bit more complicated than that, Macca.
Yeah, it is, and clearly it is in that sense. And while I think the AFL would have been happy in a way, there's just too many contracts in place that. And as you said before, Gareth, money is so important in the AFL with no crowds. They need to make sure those contracts are locked in place. Despite
being a Lions fan, I'm selling us. We can't win the flag without Rafa Nadal, aka Hipwood. That's from Mikey from Bendigo. Don't give up on the Lions just yet.
Yeah, this may be the genius move of recruiting Joe Danaher. So if Joey's able, I know he's had some. He's not in poor form. He's not quite having the influence that we all hope, I think. But as Joey Danaher fans, but this is his opportunity to really grab it by the scruff of the necks and stamp his dominance, and almost put the reward Brisbane, or not reward Brisbane, but give something back for them taking somewhat of a chance on him and recruiting him and doing what they did. So this is his opportunity. But this is one of the reasons why they did, right, to have that depth and another key forward that can win him a game of footy.
Love your work, BJ. Love your work, Macca. No bounce, no draw. Let's play with a round ball. Get rid of the behinds. Enjoy something that is not AFL. I thought I'd finish off with that.
Watch the international rules.
Yeah, frustrated supporter. Macca, I wish you the best of luck in your situation that's going on right now. You will be Father of the Year, and Mrs. Goddard can enjoy some peace and quiet in quarantine. And
Did you say Macca again?
I mean BJ, I should say. I'm a bit confused because I've got Macca in front of me with the Zoom, and I haven't got BJ. I don't know.
I got shunned on that. Yeah, no, thanks. It'll be a tough couple of weeks, but rest assured, everyone listening, that we've done the right thing. We've isolated. My wife's got a test since our last point of contact, and it came back negative. So therefore, we isolated and left her and waited until she got that. So we're all above board, but it's. She'll have some peace and quiet for 4 or 5 days and get bored, and then I'll have the 3 kids running around like I had the strip for 2 weeks.
Well, we wish you luck, BJ. Thanks for that. Good on you, mate, and good on you, Macca.
Thanks, boys.
You guys.
Brendan Goddard and Glenn McFarlane there with the Footy Fix here on RSN Central. Thank you for your text messages as well. It's 11:13. We'll take a break, and then we'll find you a winner with the Form Express on this Monday.